So the question I have today is your homestead ready if it all goes south? Now there's two types of people that are either preppers or homesteaders, and one might think that when it all collapses, everybody's going to war. I got to have a certain amount of bullets. I got to have a certain amount of guns. And when it all collapses, I'm going to have an army. I'm going to take on the U.S. Army, and it's going to be a civil war. Well, let's just be honest. There's not going to be anybody taking on the U.S. government. Joe Biden said, unless you have a plane, you're not going to be able to take on the U.S. government. So let's take a look at what this moron had to say here.
If you need to work about taking on the federal government, you need some F-15s. You don't need an AR-15. I am going to get assault weapons banned. I did it once. I'm going to do it again.
Now, obviously, that's a very stupid comment by a president, but he is right. There's nobody that's going to take on the U.S. government in some kind of civil war. What I'm asking is your homestead ready for if there was some kind of collapse? Another video I saw, there was a man, and I agreed with him for about 10 seconds until I thought about it. And this is what he said. He said, you can save up all the wood you want to. You can save up all the guns. You can save up all the ammo. You can save those little food prep things. And he said, when it all falls down, somebody's just going to come in the edge of your woods and shoot you and take all your stuff. And they're going to live on your land. They're going to live in your house. And all the stuff you've been preparing for, you're not going to have because they're going to have it. Now, this guy made a lot of sense when I first heard him.
But a lot of people are under the false illusion that living in the country, you're a lot safer. And that's not true. That just is not true. Because really, the only thing that is different in the country is you have more space, you have more room, less population of people, but that does not mean that people can't reach you. People can still reach you. No one lives so far that you can't be reached. There are places that are safer than others. I do understand this. But I come back to remember something I told a gentleman that has a YouTube channel, and he doesn't live very far from me. And this guy is a heavy-duty, serious prepper, and he believes he's got it all figured out. He's got a couple of young kids that still live at home, and I've spoken with this gentleman over the phone.
Now keep in mind, if you're worried about this, if you're sitting around worried about all this, you're wasting a life of happiness. This stuff, most of it's not going to happen. If you prepare a little bit and you know, as like an insurance policy, and when you're driving your car down the road, you don't think I'm going to wreck, I'm going to wreck, I'm going to wreck, I'm going to wreck, but you do buy insurance just in case. Same with this kind of stuff. If you're saving up thinking it's going to happen tomorrow, it's going to happen tomorrow, it's going to happen tomorrow, don't do that. You're worrying about nothing. You're worrying about something that statistically probably not happen in your lifetime. So prepare like you are buying insurance, but don't prepare like it's going to happen and be thinking in a mentality of it's going to happen tomorrow, it's going to happen tomorrow, it's going to happen tomorrow. Let's finish what this guy says.
And I'm not going to mention his name or his channel, but when I spoke to this gentleman, I told him, I says, you know, when your place is surrounded by thick forest, just like this place is, thick woods in all directions. Right across over here at the end of this 2-track is 100 acres of just woods. There's no homes, no camps, no nothing over there. Just unspoiled woods, 100 acres. And then over on this side is 55 acres of the same thing. And there's 40 plus acres that is owned by an Amish guy on the east side of the property. So there's really nobody around us per se. And I told this guy that basically has all the firewood you could ever need to heat your home for an entire winter, enough food to live off for 2 years. But the thing that I told him, I says, the number one thing that is the biggest threat is that living in the United States, everybody knows that we are a country of arms. Just about everybody out there is armed with weapons, pistols, rifles, shotguns, semi-autos. You got to think about like what recently happened to Trump. This is a guy that was out in the open, totally out in the open. And like I told this gentleman that's got a prepper channel, I'm just going to say his name was Mike. It's not his name, but I'm going to call him Mike. I told Mike, I says, all you'd have to do, if someone wanted to take you out and take everything that you prep for, everything that you stocked up and saved, all your hard work would be gone in a nanosecond. Because it says all you'd have to do is walk outside of your house, anywhere on your property. And if there was a sniper in the woods, up in a tree, just beyond a bush, use one round to take you out. I says, now your kids are on their own. Your place has nobody to defend it, and they can go in and do whatever they wanted to do.
And I thought about that for a minute. And I thought, he might be right. But then I thought about it for a minute longer, and I said he's not right because of this one thing. If you got this one thing, which I believe this one thing is as important as food and water. But you need this one thing. You can have all the chickens you want. You can have all the guns you want. You can have all the food preparation you want. But if you don't have this one thing, then you're going to be in trouble when it all comes falling down. Now let's suppose it all crumbles. Okay? And this guy was right. Let's just suppose he's right. And let's just say the person comes to my place, he hides in my woods, he shoots me, and he takes everything I've got. That would mean that this person would have to cross hundreds of people's properties as he's coming out to where I live. He would then have to pick me out randomly out of, hundreds of people. He would then shoot me. My neighbors, my family, everybody around me would have to be okay with it because they know I'm not there anymore. And then he would just go on to be able to live his life living on my place. My family's not going to say anything about it. My friends are not going to say anything about it. He's just going to be perfectly fine. It's going to be perfectly fine with him just living on my place and, just taking over. That's what you'd have to believe if you believe somebody could just shoot you and take what you got. Because I think that if somebody shot your neighbor, that there would be justice in the community to say, all right, we got to go take care of this person's family, I would think. So, obviously, most of the stuff we worry about is not going to happen. You're not homesteading because you want to fight some war when it all comes crumbling down. You're homesteading because you think it's a better way of life. Okay? And so, if you're homesteading because you are thinking about the end and that's all you think about, then you're worrying about nothing pretty much. For the most part, nothing is going to happen. If it happens, it happens, but you don't need to sit around and worry about it. You need to live your life on the homestead and just enjoy it. But the number one thing you need on top of food and water is community. Okay? A lot of people probably think about homesteading and think I'm going to move out to the country. I'm going to get away from people. I'm not going to have to talk to people anymore. I don't want to be around people anymore. But that's not what homesteading is. It's a different type of people you're around. But you're still around people. You're still going to need friends. You're still going to have community around you. You still need that community. God didn't make us to not have community. So you're going to need friends. You're going to need people around you. Now, the best place to go to find an already made community where you don't have to go out door to door knocking on people asking to be your friend is the local church. The local church is the center, it should be the center of the community. And so you can go find a local church, get involved in that local church, and you got a community just like that. You don't have to go work on it. You don't have to go build it. It's already there. Find your local church. That's your community. Now, the studies have been done. There's people who don't like church, or there's people that don't like church, but the studies have been done, and the studies say that people who go to church regularly live 4 years longer. So that means their life is probably more fulfilled because they live longer than people who don't go to church for 4 years. 4 years longer. You already have that community built in. You're plugged into your community. That's the way to get plugged into your community on the homestead. There's a lot of small churches everywhere. Go to church. That's your community. It's already there. It's been there for For most of them, it's been there for hundreds of years. There was a man named Zig Ziglar, and he said people would tell him, I don't go to church because there's nothing but a bunch of hypocrites in the church. And he would say, hey, it's okay. We got room for one more. So, yeah, there's people in the church that don't quite live the way they should live. But that shouldn't stop you from going, because everybody that's going to church is trying to do better, trying to live that good Christian life. But listen, nobody's perfect. We're all sinners. We just need to all admit it. So, if you're going to survive when it all comes tumbling down, if it does, it might one day, it might not, probably won't. But if it does, one of the top 3 things you need is community. And if you don't have it, you might be in trouble. Like that man said, they could just come take what you got. But if you do have it, nobody's going to say, hey, brother so-and-so from the church just got killed. Oh well, they're not going to do that. They're going to go take care of your family, and they're going to take care of the man who committed this crime against you. So it's not logical to think that you can just walk up to somebody's place and off them and take all their stuff. That's just not going to happen. Not if you have a community around you, and probably not even if you don't. Nobody's going in the community going to put up with that. Even if the person's not part of the church or the community, they're still going to go say, all right, we're not. This is not going to happen around here. So make sure when you have your homestead that you don't think that you can just get away from everybody and not have anybody around you. You need that community.